Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MtGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and let's go over Izzet Wizards for Dominaria Standard. So this deck list is Izzet Wizards. The problem with Izzet Wizards, because I'm going to get right into it before we get into the actual deck list here, is that it's not that good. You could probably go Jeskai and be a little bit better here. The issue is that there's just not that many powerful wizards in the format, so this particular deck list is trying to go more towards an aggro, a more low to the ground strategy with more prowess things like that. So we're going to get into the deck list here, and we just kind of see how it goes. We'll just see how it goes, of course. Here's the new layout, of course. First up, we have the wizards. There are going to be, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16... 19 wizards in the deck list here? I think that's how many there are. Starting with the Gitu Lavamancer. This is a 1-mana 1/2. As long as there are two or more instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard, the Lavamancer gets +1/+0 and has haste. So this would be great if we could play it on turn 1 as a turn 1 2/2 with haste. That'd be awesome. The Lavamancer though kind of supports a situation where this is going to be played on turn 2 or maybe even turn 3 if you have a situation where you're just burning out spells from your hand. Again, the issue with the Lavamancer here is, of course, it's a 2/2 on like turn 2 and 3, and that's not that fantastic for us. It is decent once we compare it with the other wizards in our actual list here. So we'll move on to the next wizard here, which is actually pretty good as a turn 1 play. We have Soulscar Mage here, a 1-mana 1/2 with prowess. If a source you control will deal non-combat damage to a creature an opponent controls, put that many -1/-1 counters on that creature instead. So of course we have Lightning Strike and bolts and stuff like that in the actual deck list here for us, or wizard bolts, I guess you could call them. So Soulscar Mage is actually very good for that situation, a very good turn 1 play, and a very good situation where we can actually kind of like kill a large creature on their side of the field, but at the same time get in for like 2 points or even 3 points of damage thanks to the Soulscar Mage having prowess. So that's why Lavamancer to me is not that great, but I still like it as a turn 2 play, especially if we can get out Soulscar Mage on turn 1, get out maybe a Shock on turn 2, and then play the Lavamancer, and then on turn 3 have it kind of get in for 3 points of damage. I think that's fine. Or 2 points of damage, rather. I think that's fine. Moving up here to another card I really like that has prowess as well. Spellweaver Eternal. This is a Zombie Naga Wizard, a 2-mana 2/1 with prowess again, with Afflict for 2, which means whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 2 life. So it's a 2/1, which means it probably will trade with a lot of stuff, but if it does get blocked, it's still going to do 2 points of damage, which is very relevant, especially because that's 10% of an opponent's life total, and I think that's awesome. It's very good for us on turn 2, very good for us after we play out our main legendary creature here, which is Delease the Cinderwind, a 3-mana 2/2 legendary creature human wizard with flying and haste. That alone is pretty decent, but whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, so this is actually like a board-wide prowess for our entire wizard mock-up here. I think this is great for us. I think this card is very powerful. It's not a complete 4F because we want our strategy to still be kind of a low to the ground strategy, and it is kind of a specific mana requirement with being red and blue. So I think this is why there's only 3 of them in the deck here for me. That's kind of what I decided on. We could go 4 here and make this a full 20 as far as how many creatures are in the deck, but that's kind of what I decided on. Maybe take out a Lavamancer, put in another Cinderwind if that's your speed. Moving on here to our last creature, we have Champion of Wits. Finally, a decent wizard for us. This is a 3-mana 2/1 Champion of Wits Naga Wizard. When it enters a battlefield, draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard 2 cards. And of course, it has Eternalize for 7, making it a 4/4, drawing 4 cards, discarding 2. So I really like Champion of Wits. I think it's really great in the early to mid game where we can kind of hopefully board into some more removal, board into some more creatures, board into some control even. I think Champion of Wits is fantastic, especially when he goes to the graveyard and comes back as a 4/4 that draws us 4 cards. This card is just overall very, very good for us. I like it a lot, and that's going to round out all the creatures in the actual deck list here. So what do these creatures do? Are they going to be like just on the battlefield and that's it, or do we have things to pump them up? Well, let's go with the spells here. First, starting up with, we have Opt, a 1-mana instant, scry 1 and draw a card. Very simple and straightforward. Scrying is going to help us, kind of like sink through some mana if we draw mana into it. We don't want to draw mana too much. We want to get to maybe 4 mana and be done for the turn. But Opt is also good at being able to draw cards as well, and triggering prowess, as well as the Cinderwind's ability to give +1/+1 across the board. So Opt is very good for that. Speaking of a good card for us on our side of the field is Warlord's Fury. So one of the things about the actual prowess strategy here is you kind of need to cast spells on your turn to pump your entire board, because it has prowess, so that means whenever you cast it on a creature spell, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so that's when you're attacking in. So you basically have to do something either in main phase 1 or when they're attacking, so you can kind of do a quick combat trick and trade up or something like that. So Warlord's Furious here. Creatures you control get first strike and until end of turn, and we draw a card. So there is a crash through, or the card crash through in Hour of Devastation or Almond Can't Block. That's really great as well, and I like that it gives it trample draw a card. That's fine, but because we have so many cards with just like one toughness, like the Eternal we have in the deck here, I do think that giving it first strike is a bit more relevant for our actual list here. I think that's a lot more specific and just more powerful overall. Moving on though to some more like actual burn spells though, we actually have just 4 Lightning Strike, very powerful, 2 mana instant, deals 3 damage to any target or creature or player, that kind of stuff. Very good, very useful for us. Just like, Wizard's Lightning here, a 3 mana instant, but it can actually just be 1 mana because this is a Wizard's deck. So this spell costs 2 colors less to cast if you control a Wizard, which means it's basically a Lightning Bolt. Wizard's Lightning deals 3 damage to any target. So yeah, it's a straight up Lightning Bolt if you have a Wizard on the battlefield. Lightning Strike and Wizard's Lightning is probably the 2 best cards in here to be able to kind of hopefully push through some creatures or just deal some damage to our opponent's face. Last up here we have Wizard's Retort, a 3 mana instant. This is basically, again, a counter spell. So it's in standard with Wizards. I think that's very good. This is kind of what makes the Wizards deck a lot better than it kind of needs to be, or should be, rather. Taking it from like a tier 2 to maybe like a tier 3, tier 2.5, that kind of thing. This spell costs 1 color less to cast if you control a wizard, and it's just a simple counter target spell. So this can either be just a regular, 3 mana counter spell, or it can be a basically 2 mana counter spell, straight up being counter spell. Love this card, and that is going to round out all of the spells for the deck list. So let's move on to the land base here. Moving on with, we have, I believe, 5 lands, or 5 islands, then 4 Spiral Bluff Canal, of course, fast land. Field of Ruin, and 1 up here to hopefully get rid of a flipped Legion's Landing, a flipped treasure map, stuff like that. We also have 6 Mountain as well. 4 Sulphur Falls, being able to be a buddy land here, coming in untapped if you control a a mountain or an island, and then 2 Scavenger Grounds, because the Godfather's Gift strategies are actually kind of coming back in a big way. They were coming back before Dominaria released, and now that they're out, or now that Dominaria is out, Godfather's Gift is kind of coming back in a huge way. So putting 2 Scavenger Grounds in the actual land base here is quite important for us. So that's going to be our game 1 game plan. Basically, we have kind of a fast strategy, lower the ground, lots of actual burn spells in the deck list here, and then of course we have some slight counter spells to hopefully get rid of like any kind of board wipes, like a Fumigate, Settle the Wreckage, things like that. So let's go on to our sideboard and see what we can do in game 2 here, starting with 2 Dive Down. This is a 1 mana instant. Target creature control gets +0/+3 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Very, very good for us. Kind of hopefully getting rid of like a Fatal Push in the early game. Of course, it also triggers Prowess for us if we're attacking in, and it can kind of hopefully help us like survive a huge encounter if an opponent like is attacking him like a 7/6 or something like that. We can do Dive Down and maybe even survive that encounter, which is really great for us as well. Moving on, we have 2 Magma Spray, because Scrap Heap Scrounger and like you have Earthshaker Kenner and even other Champion of the Wits on our opponent's side of the field can go to the graveyard and come back as larger creatures. We want to have Magma Spray in the sideboard here to hopefully deal with that in game 2. 1 mana instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die, exile it instead, which is great for us. And of course, Adorned Pouncer is another card we want to deal with too. So just a very good card in the sideboard for us. Moving on though, we have some Artifact Tate for a Braid. So again, Godfather's Gift strategies are coming back in a big way. We want to deal with a Braid. We also have the Karn Sign of Urza strategies with like the artifacts kind of surrounding that. A Braid is here to help hopefully deal with that. A 2 mana instant, deals 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. So it kind of has a either or ability here. Really like it a lot for that particular situation. Moving on to just some more control magic though, we have 3 Negate. Simple, straightforward. Going to hopefully get rid of a Fumigate, Settle the Wreckage, any kind of weird like Approach the Second Sun, a second one or something like that. This will be hopefully kind of coming in that particular strategy, shutting those down, and hopefully giving us the ability to kind of win the match after a Negate is activated. Next up here we have 2 Karizev Expertise, 3 mana sorcery, gain control of target creature or vehicle. So if we're playing up against like a Mardu vehicles, we grab Heart of Kirin, or we grab a large creature like a Virtuous Gearhulk or another Torrential Gearhulk on our opponent's side of the field, stuff like that. We can also cast a card with converted mana cost 2 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost, and that's basically everything in our deck besides the Champion of Wits. We also have the Cinderwind, and then of course the Blinding Bolt and the counter spell. Wish this could actually count for that, but it does not. So we could just do this and then kind of just control the opponent's creature, give everything first strike and draw a card. That's pretty decent for just 3 mana. And the last 2 cards here in the sideboard for us is just 2 Sweltering Suns. There are again some token strategies going around right now with the Hidden Stockpile strategy, as well as the Karn Sign of Urza strategy, where they're going really, really wide. And we want to make sure we kind of have a control on those decks while we're kind of like trying to press our own advantage. Sweltering Suns is great as a sorcery speed because it means that we're actually triggering Prowess on our turn. Our creatures are most likely going to survive if we use this, because we'll probably use a secondary spell after Sweltering Suns, or in response to Sweltering Suns, or right before Sweltering Suns, to make sure our creatures survive. But Sweltering Suns deals 3 damage to each creature, and cycling for, of course, 3 colorless. And most of the time we're not going to cycle this card at all. We're just going to hopefully use it as soon as we draw into it because we need to against a token-based strategy. But that is the full deck list here. Let's go to the full layout here. On MtG Traders, this is coming to a decent 73 tickets. And on paper, if you want to build this, this is coming to right over $100, $105 here. So pretty decent. Again, not necessarily the strongest deck list I've come across. I've tried to build this the best way I could. Not exactly satisfied with it. Wish we had like a hasty 1/1 or something like that. Maybe a Bomat Courier could be used in this deck as well. Thought about putting in a Metallic Mimic too, but I do think Metallic Mimic was a little too slow for the Wizard matchup. I thought Riddle Form might have been a good interesting input or push into this deck as well. But the problem, of course, if you play Riddle Form, you're doing nothing on turn 2. It can just be a dead card if you don't run into any kind of instant sorcery spells early enough. It could replace maybe the Lavamancer if you wanted it to, but I do think that Riddle Form overall can be kind of clunky if your opponent does have good removal for it too. But of course, that is the full deck list, guys. Please let me know what you think. What do you think you could change? What do you think could make the deck a little bit better? Would love to know your thoughts in the comments down there below. Of course, like to do it if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tomorrow, I will be releasing a blue-white control deck, and that deck is so much better than this deck. I'm so happy with how the control deck turned out. I do think Teferi is ridiculous. So just wait up for that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.